It is now 5 o'clock. We will begin the workshop for the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, January 30th, 2014. We do have a citizen that wishes to speak tonight. Mr. Jay Orry, if you'd come up to the podium, please.
Hello, I'm Jay Oran. I live at 3501 Martins Woods Lane. My request, I hope, is simple, but maybe not technically easy to implement. When I moved to Laverne, I came from Smyrna, where I had an irrigation system in the yard, and in the wintertime I could have that system shut down and not be billed for it during the months it wasn't in use. When I had the system put in Laverne, I asked if they had that same policy. Was told they did. This was in 2010, I think, or 2011. The system has been shut down each year in the wintertime, backflow removed, inspected, whatever, and notify the water billing department. They lock the meter up so that I can't use it. And historically, I wasn't billed for that meter during the shutdown months. When I called to have that same process performed this year, I was told they no longer, I'll have that policy, and that they've changed it, and we have to pay for the meter regardless of whether we use it or not. I calculated the amount that would come out to at 5 or 6 months worth of no use. It's about $90, which doesn't sound like a lot of money, but it actually would cover 2 months worth of a normal water bill for me for the home. So what I'm basically requesting is to have that policy re-implemented to have irrigation meters shut down during the winter months.
Thank you very much for
Thank
coming
you.
up. Well, before I start our meeting, we have some new faces in the audience. And they're all sitting on the back row, so what does that mean? Are y'all scared of us already? I would like to remind everyone this is being televised live, so we're going to get them good and embarrassed right now. But I do believe our two assistant fire chiefs are with us tonight, Chief Culberson and Chief Clark. If y'all would stand, please. We would like to welcome y'all home to Laverne. And I believe that must be your lovely wife. Welcome. Get used to all of us. We're one big happy family. So, and Ricky's already told on you, said that you like to cook. Oh. So we're going to be really nice to you. Welcome. Welcome. Now, if you don't mind, we're going to get right into the business. This time, prayer will be by Alderman Green. And Alderman Waldron, you will have the Pledge of Allegiance. We do have several minutes to review over. January 9th, we have the public hearing meetings. January 9th, regular meeting minutes. And then you have January 23rd, the special call meeting minutes. So please review over these before Tuesday night. Tonight, it'd be workshop only. We get to hear our yearly audit report from Mr. Greg Howell. Greg, you want to come on up?
Good evening. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. As the mayor said, I'm Greg Howell with Yeary Howell and Associates. We're the independent auditors for the city. You have been provided the June 30th, 2013 audit report. Your June 30th, 2013 audit did receive an unmodified opinion, which is the highest level opinion. It means your financial statements are presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. As I'm sure you're aware, your prior year report did receive the Government Finance Officer Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Reporting. We believe this report continues to meet those high standards. Receiving that certificate or that honor means that your report meets the highest standards in reporting, and it goes far beyond the minimum reporting requirements to your citizens, and you should be proud that you do that. I've got some graphs that I'd like to just kind of briefly go over with you, and they're on the board up here. I might turn around and look at this one. I can see it a little bit better, but this first graph shows your revenues broken down by sources. About 65% of your revenues come from local taxes. That's your property tax, your local sales tax, those types of things. About 22.5% comes from intergovernmental, which is your state shared taxes, grants, things such as that. Then the others go down from there, the next licensing permits, which is your building permits and whatnot. One thing to note in this, your local tax share has gone down a little bit from the prior year. The main reason for that is, I'm sure you're aware there were some problems with the property tax assessments last year. You had to refund some property taxes from the prior year, and that impacted the amount of your property taxes. Your local sales tax was up some, which helped absorb some of that downturn with the property taxes. Go to the second graph, please. All right, this shows your expenditures. You spend about almost 68% of your expenditures for day-to-day operating expenses, about 23% for capital outlay, and about 9% for debt service. Your capital outlay, that expenditure amounted to about $4.9 million. That's up from the prior year. You spent about $1.5 million in 2012 for capital outlay. Most of that capital outlay was for roads. I think about $3.2 million was for roads. About $1 million was for police assets, and the other was just for the general capital assets for the other departments. Debt service is pretty consistent with what it was in the prior year. Next graph, please. This shows your day-to-day operating expenses, how they're broken down. You spend almost 54% of your budget for public safety, which is your fire and police. You spend about 18.5% for general government, about 14% for streets and stormwater, 5% for recreation, 4% library, and 3% for health and welfare, which is senior citizens and economic community development, and that sort of thing. These are relatively consistent with the prior year. I think the only area that was up of any significance at all was public safety. It was up a little bit. The next graph shows how your salaries and wages of the city are broken down. About 59% of all your salaries you pay go to public safety. About 17% goes to general government, 11% streets and stormwater, 2.5% health and welfare, 5% recreation, and 5% library. Next, we'll go to the trends. Got the trends over the last 4 years, how things have done. If you'll notice, your local taxes is up just a little bit. And the reason for that being, as I said, your local sales tax was up, but your property taxes was down, which brought that down. If we hadn't had those adjustments in property taxes, you would have had a much stronger increase in your local taxes. Your intergovernmental, it's up a little bit. That's primarily due to the state sales tax being up and the state income tax being up, and you had a few more grants in the current year. Everything else is pretty close to the same, except you might look over there in other revenues. That red box is a little bit larger. The reason for that being, you called a bond in on one of the developers of about $400,000, and that's in other revenue, and that caused that revenue to be a little bit more than it was in prior years. Next graph shows your expenditure trends for the last few years. Current expenditures up just a little bit. That's primarily due to police salaries and the fire contract being up from what it was in 2012. The other areas are pretty much the same except for capital outlay, which I explained a minute ago. You had a couple of large road projects for about $3.2 million, and that accounts for the increase in the capital outlay from prior years. Next graph shows your day-to-day operating expense trends. Like I say, all your departments are pretty much the same except public safety. You did add some officers and some salaries in that area, and that accounts for that increase in the public safety area, as well as the contract for the fire department was up some from the prior year. Next graph is salaries and wages. Pretty much explained this. All of them are pretty much the same except public safety. Next graph is your medical insurance fund. That's the employees' health insurance. This year, for the first time in 3 years, this fund took in more money than its expenses. It was about $65,000 more taken in than spent. That built up your reserve in this fund. Your reserve is now up to about $241,000, which you had a good experience year within your health care area, which is good. A lot of cities didn't experience a real good year, and I think y'all kind of abnormal from that sense. The next graph shows the water and sewer operations. The last 2 years, the water and sewer fund has operated at a profit. Of course, you needed this profit is going to be used to fund the necessary improvements that you're having to make and to pay the debt service that goes along with those improvements. The next graph shows your debt service requirements. Your general debt will be paid off in 2005, and your water and sewer debt will be paid off in 2027. And your debt is pretty much structured where it stays pretty level throughout those years. The next graph shows your property tax in comparison to the county tax rate and the city tax rate. You're staying pretty close to the same level as far as the total impact from the county and city sales tax, property tax rate. You did note that the two years where you've had the increase. The last graph shows your fund balance. The red chart shows your total fund balance, which that's reserved and unreserved. It went down about $386,000 from the prior year, but your unreserved fund balance increased about $1.3 million. The reason that being, during 2013, you spent a lot of grant money, which was reserved, and a lot of your bond money, which was reserved. Your fund balance your unreserved fund balance is about $8.7 million. That's about 6 months worth of operating expenses. That's considered to be a healthy fund balance. Most people strive to stay within the 5 to 7 month, and y'all are right in the middle of that, so y'all are probably about where you need to be as far as fund balance. That concludes my presentation. I did provide, there is a management letter in with your audit report, which I made some comments about some items that you could do to improve your accounting system and controls. These have already been discussed with your city staff, and I think they're already working on making those changes and improvements. I'd be glad to take any questions or address anything. If you have any questions at a later date, feel free to call me as well.
Y'all have any questions? No. So it sounds like we're doing pretty well.
I think you had a very healthy year.
Thank you. We like hearing that. Thank you.
Appreciate the opportunity.
All right. All right. He will not be here at the meeting, so it was just tonight. Then we'll do our Employee of the Month for February. We'll move right into old business, which is second reading, ordinance 2014-01, an ordinance to amend the Laverne zoning ordinance as it relates to cell tower regulations. Received a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission on November 26, 2013. A public hearing will be held on February 4th, 2014 at 5, I think it's supposed to be 6:30.
Oh, you're right.
So we will have a public hearing. This is the second reading. Do we need any further discussions, any questions? Would you like Ms. Costanzo to go over anything with you? Anything at all?
No, that is 6:30.
6:30,
Right.
yes, 6:30. All right, I see no questions. We're moving right along to the consent agenda items. Approve recommendations for city bids and purchases. Bid baseball and softball uniforms. Mr. AC, is that you? Felicia?
Felicia, I thought Felicia was gonna be here, but yeah, it's, we got the one bid in and it was very reasonable. It got us down around $25 per uniform for hats, belts, or shirts and pants and socks, so.
And what, didn't you say a hat, or was it the socks?
It was hats and socks and pants.
The whole thing, wasn't
And
it?
yeah, everything.
Yeah.
So, very reasonable considering it's from a company called BSN and they're very pricey. So we were surprised that it was as low as it was, so that was really good.
Excellent.
We met with their rep today and, you know, I think they're gonna be good.
Excellent. Any questions? Sorry, I forgot to move. And you can see all of those on your pads, if I can get it going. Okay, next, bid auto parts for city fleet.
This was a bid that was put out for the fleet department. Should have been tires, batteries, parts, etc., front end alignments. And the only thing we got back was a quote from O'Reilly's parts, and everything seemed to be, you know, pretty good discount on it. So I talked with Felicia, and we decided to go with the O'Reilly's, but the rest of it, we may put it out at a later date.
Okay. So, O'Reilly's. Do I have any questions from the board? Okay. Next will be to purchase trophies for spring baseball and softball leagues.
That actually, we've checked with, we're still talking to Felicia about that, but we're thinking VIP Sports in Smyrna. What was what they say on the trophies, Julie, between? Is it up there? Yeah, okay, 625. But we're starting signups actually on Wednesday after everything is in place, and we'll see what that's gonna cost from there, but we don't anticipate it being, you know, too bad. So it'll depend on how many we have signed up.
And that's the main reason we're bringing it to the boards, in case it does go over $5,000, we would need your
You're already-
approval. So
Right.
We're ready. We're good to
just want
go.
to make sure we're covered.
Any questions? Okay, moving right along. Replace the HVAC units at Station 2. Who's got those?
Ricky, you want to talk about that?
Got, I think there's a second page there for that.
I've only got the one page.
Should be a total page there. Yeah, $8,900.
There it is.
When we were going through the appraisal process and all, obviously, there's some things that don't get caught during appraisals and stuff. One of the things was the 2 high-vac units for Station 2 up on Walden Road. Those units, we had our high-vac company come out, take a look at them. They're not heating properly, and in the summertime, they're not cooling properly. When they come out, those are the wrong size units for that building, even from construction. So what we've been putting money into something that needs to be replaced and has needed replacement for some time. So this is the estimate that come back to replace both of those units, and it come back at $8,900. So that's our recommendation, is to go with our current company.
That's it. Hey, where is this?
Well, we did, of course, we don't have a strong budget in place for the fire department. Basically, come from fund balance.
Okay. Any questions? Questions? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Microsoft Software Enterprise Agreement. I guess you have both of these, don't you? NeoGov too?
No, that'd be Miss Cheryl, I think, would be,
Okay.
Miss. Yeah. This is the renewal for our Microsoft licensing that we do every year. We're starting another 3-year contract with them. It does include a true-up, which basically adds to the contract all the computers that we've added in the last 3 years. And it is on the state contract. That's what it is.
It's what it is.
It is, but it is.
Any questions? That was simple. Thank you. Next, NeoGov. You're NeoGov? Whoa.
I'm gonna sit down.
You thought I said Neo, didn't you?
She
Well,
looked
we
at
were gonna
him
let
so
you have it,
funny.
pay for it.
She was looking at him so funny.
Though our representative was here from El Segundo.
We'd
We
rather
have-
hear your price than Neil's, though.
Well, I wanted to present the new contract agreement. As I talked during the retreat, we have assessed the applicant tracking program, and we also purchased the online onboarding program along with the performance management review piece that we had not used last year. And I believe we paid $12,000 last year for this product. So what we're going to do, we're only looking at retaining the applicant tracking piece for this year, and we're going to create our own performance review piece, as well as look at our onboarding piece. So the total is $4,600, $4,650 versus $12,000. And again, we're hoping that this will be entertained, so that way we can work on ramping up our own performance review product, as well as our own personal on-board product, without costing the city a great deal of money.
We like saying
So
that.
we've tried to negotiate a better price and defray the expense for us. Okay? So,
Any questions? Sounds good.
thank you.
Thank you. All right. Now, approve an agreement for engineering services with Consolidated Technologies, Inc. for the sewer system rehabilitation project for the East Hurricane Creek Drainage Basin. You may come up now.
I'm glad I wouldn't be forced to try to provide either one of these contracts for the amount on the last proposal that you saw. Thank you for allowing me to address you again this evening. I talked with you about these two agreements during our planning session. A little bit of overview is these are the result of a corrective action plan that we developed for East Hurricane Creek Drainage Basin. They're proposed as two separate projects, with one being sewer rehab in that drainage basin, and the other one being the replacement of an interceptor sewer in the lower East Hurricane Creek drainage basin. These projects are necessary due to the amount of rehab that's needed in that drainage basin, and they do have multiple benefits. Of course, all of the flow that we can eliminate, the extraneous flow that we can eliminate, you save $1.87 per 1,000 gallons on your metro charges. The interceptor sewer part of this project, not only does that interceptor have I&I, but it is also undersized and in a bad location. So this will eliminate all three of those problems with replacement of the interceptor. So we presented these two agreements for engineering services. I'd be happy to answer any questions you all may have that you need me to address directly.
And let's remind everybody, this is the biggest part of our overage is at the East Hurricane Creek one, if I'm not mistaken. That's where our biggest overage into Metro is coming from.
It's where you've had the highest number of excessive flows. As Metro registers excessive flows on an hourly basis, and then when you have those excessive flows, they charge you 25% more for it. So it's $1.87 times 1.25, which I believe is $2.34, $2.34 a thousand. And this drainage basin has received an exceedance letter from Metro. When Metro gives you an exceedance letter, then you have to prepare a corrective action plan. When Metro accepts the corrective action plan, which they have, then you have to complete the improvements that are contained in it within 3 years. You do have other basins that are subject to I&I, and we are studying basins progressively. The larger basins will be Hollandale and Fergus that we study and currently study in Hollandale. So there will be projects that result from those two, at least sewer rehab, possibly some interceptor sewer replacement as well.
But we knew this one for sure was going to be the
Yes, ma'am.
bad
Yes, ma'am.
apple. Okay. Do y'all have any questions from Neil? I think you pretty much explained it to us in the retreat.
Thank
so.
you very much.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to new business. We have motion to appoint or remove board members. First, the Historical Preservation Advisory Committee. We have one term is vacant and one term expired. I do believe we found out that Miss Kennedy no longer lives in this area. So there will be 2 vacancies on the Historical Preservation Committee. Next will be the Board of Zoning Appeals. And we have 1 term expires on January 31st, and that's Mr. Alton Goodwin. And he would like to stay on that board and is doing a very good job. Next, we have the Construction Board of Adjustment and Appeals. 1 term expires on January 31st. That's Felicia Smith, and I do believe she would like to remain on that board as well. Next, we do have 1 opening on the Library Board. We have 1 vacant opening. Ms. Stanfield, she did have to remove herself from the board because of her work and having a hard time getting here, and she did a wonderful job, but she did have to take herself off that board. So we do have 1 opening there, and that's a very fun board to be on, so y'all need to sign up for these boards. Next, we have our Local Emergency Planning Committee. 2 terms are vacant, 1 being Public Works, and is that going to fall under utilities? Do we need to change that to utilities?
The way it's listed in the ordinance is Public Works, but we've always had 1 from Streets and Fleet and 1 from Utilities. So we'd have to do an ordinance to change that technically.
And at this time, I would like to introduce our new Utilities Manager. I've been on him all day, putting him in front of cameras and everything, Mr. Michael Dietz. He's going to start running for me now. I cornered him and Ricky on camera today. So they're going to be movie stars at 6 o'clock. So everybody watch Channel 2. Michael will be taking the vacancy on the board for Public Works. And Chief McCormick has strangled or Assistant Chief Mike Culberson. Looks like you're going to have to put up with this bunch as well. So you're going to be put on that board.
Sorry,
See, you corner them on TV and they can't say no. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank y'all. That actually is a fun board. Next, we have our Senior Citizens Advisory Committee. I have 2 terms vacant. And actually, I have 2 applications. So we'll be looking at those and encourage, if we do have some seniors that would like to be on there as well, that want to look at that as well. And let you look at the applications as well. Okay. And last but not least, we have the Stormwater Advisory. And we have 2 vacant positions on that board. And that one, if you really want to get active but don't want to meet monthly, that's a good board to be on. We meet once a year, not once a month. It is very interesting board to be on. Now, hopefully in the next few months we'll have some construction going on. You are on call, so you can have meetings at will. So, but generally we meet once, twice the most a year. So that's another good board, and it's very interesting as well. All right. Do I have any questions on any of those? If not, we'll keep moving. Y'all are quiet tonight.
Mm-hmm. We had enough last week.
First reading, ordinance 2014-02, an ordinance to amend the Laverne zoning ordinance as it relates to home daycare regulations, received a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission on January 28, 2014. Ms. Costanzo, if you'll review over that for the council.
Sure. In Article 2 of the zoning ordinance, it's the definitions section. We have a definition for daycare center, which pertains to a commercial daycare center, which is where you keep more than 12 children. for less than 24 hours a day. And then we also have home daycare, which is where a caregiver can have between 5 and 12 children in their home for less than 24 hours a day as well. And these are allowed in various zoning districts. I added a provision that states that the applicants, whether it's the home daycare or the daycare center, that the applicant is a licensed provider, licensed by the Tennessee Department of Human Services, and that they provide me with a certificate, so that we make sure that any of the daycare operations that are happening in Laverne are official and licensed and inspected annually. So that's the gist of it. It's just kind of shoring up our regulations. So.
Any questions? All right. Number 8, Resolution 2014-03, a resolution in support of the fiscal year 2014 THDA grant application.
Mayor, this is a resolution that we will need to have approved so that we can apply for this THDA home grant. We can apply for up to $500,000, and that's basically for improvements on lower income homes and you know, people that need the help with their houses. So we're going to make this application subject to your approval and try to help some people out there.
And we've actually had some homes that we've had these before, and it has been truly, truly beneficial. So, do I have any questions? Number 9, Resolution 2014-04, a resolution to authorize the City of Laverne to piggyback on other municipal bids.
Mayor, this will come into play more on item number 11 on the agenda, but the state now will allow cities to use bids that have been approved by other municipalities in the state, but the city has to approve a resolution in order to do so. We have asked Ralph Cross at MTAS to give us a draft resolution for that. We've not received that yet, but we hope to have that ready for Tuesday night.
Excellent. Any questions? Number 10, Resolution 2014-05, a resolution approving a lease purchase agreement in an aggregate principal amount of not to exceed $600,000.
This, as we had our special meeting last week, we had approved the purchase of the Motorola equipment, the console equipment, and then we said at that point that we hope to bring back a resolution to the meeting next Tuesday to approve the lease purchase agreement. That's essentially what this is. We have put bid forms out to various financial institutions to get them to give us quotes. Okay. I think we're supposed to get those back by midnight Monday night. So we'll have all of the rate information and everything ready for Tuesday night and have the resolution fully ready for approval Tuesday night. So we don't know anything on rates and dollar amounts or anything yet, but this is that resolution that we talked about at the special meeting.
This is for the consoles.
Yes.
The back consoles.
And if you'll remember, the purchase amount was $580,000. This is a not to exceed $600,000 because there are some cost involved in the financing, so that's why it's higher.
Excellent. Okay. Any questions? Number 11, motion to approve the bid for fire apparatus maintenance and service.
Mayor, this is piggybacking off of the town of Smyrna. They put theirs out back in 2011. It's with a very reputable company out of Nashville, Cumberland International. It's basically, if you look on through the document there, the rates are for their apparatus in Smyrna, but it's setting those rates for the filters and the oil changes and the pump maintenance, the pump testing, all of those items, and it's also setting a labor rate. It's almost impossible to go and get 3 quotes or estimates and stuff on fire apparatus due to the fact that it's special equipment. So we're just asking that we are able to piggyback off of the town of Smyrna's current agreement and contract with Cumberland International. It's in Nashville.
Nashville. You gotta keep them running.
Hopefully this will help us a little bit out too with the repair stuff that we were talking about during the retreat. Hopefully some of this stuff will help alleviate some of those problems on the front end.
Any questions? Any questions? They're quite much. So. Thank you. Okay, we're down to mayor and alderman comments. And I'm going to start because we have a quick slide that we want to show y'all. I think y'all will like. Y'all got it set up for us? As you all know, that this board approved the equipment for the Lake Forest Playground. This is what, well, should be here in what, 2 to 3 weeks, possibly. This is what it's going to look like once it is installed. We are working with a lot of the major companies here, asking them if they would like to donate. They can put their names on signs, some of them, the benches. We just started this and actually have got $5,800.
Good.
For the installation. But this is the equipment. Once it gets here, we're working diligently to get it into the ground. We did meet with Bridgestone, they're on board. We met with United Stationers today. They'll be letting us know they definitely want to participate. They'll be letting us know how they would like to participate. Good old Mr. Bowers down here with B&B Fireworks has already made a monetary donation to it. And so we're really working hard to make this definitely what it's called, a community playground. And we're very excited about this. And so we just wanted to show y'all what it's eventually going to look like. But this is the equipment that has been purchased.
They need it
So
so
bad.
bad.
Exactly.
So bad.
And so we just wanted to give you a little preview of this and let you look at it. We're pretty excited about it. And once we're showing people that we've already made that initial purchase, they're really wanting to come on board and help us get this in the ground. From volunteering their time to money. So it's really coming together. So we just wanted to give you a little brief showing of this. We thought y'all would be excited to see this.
It's very nice.
I don't think we have anything going on this weekend. Oh, yes. Major announcement, please. I know we've got people watching us live. Go on our city Facebook page, go on our city site, the Laverne, www.lavernetn.gov. We're getting ready to start replacing our 2-inch water lines. We've given details on what roads we'll be starting with. This has already been bid out. It's going to take us about a year to 13 months to get all these in. We're going to be doing this in different phases. So the entire city, it's mainly in the older section. It will not be all tore up at once. We're going to go in phases. We're going to go in, put the lines in. Once we get the lines in, if we need to do repairs to yards that we've been in, whatever, we're going to make all those repairs. And at that time, after all that's done, these people will have nice new streets. So once we finish all that, they will not be jumping around. They'll be completing one phase at a time. So please keep up with us on the city site Facebook page. We'll be letting you know. It will be starting Monday. And Michael, remind me where we're starting Monday.
We're starting over in like Piercy, Minerva,
Okay.
Mercury, Easy Street, George Thomas, and that area.
Okay,
In
so
between Fergus Road and Dick Buchanan. basically.
excellent, excellent. We're going to start over in there. Once they get that done, all those will be repaved. Then we'll move to the next section. So please, everybody, bear with us on this. This is definitely a life safety issue that we waited 18 years to get done. I think it's time. and we've got it bid out. We're ready to rock and roll with it, so please be patient with us. If anybody has any questions, comments, or concerns, you're welcome to call me. Call City Hall, let us know, but I promise you, once we get those lines in, if we've been in your yard, we're gonna fix that yard, and we're gonna fix the roads. So please bear with us, and we're all gonna have nice new water lines in these older sections. Ms. Sherry, top that.
I can't. Are you gonna do Stones River Road? No, okay.
I think you're in good shape.
Yeah, we're in good shape over there. I don't have any comments or anything,
All right.
except I'm so glad that Tom is up and on his feet and back with us.
Yes, we're glad to have him
And we're
back.
so happy for Evan and his little twins.
Yes. We'd like to remember the vice mayor. He's got a
And
sick
his-
little one tonight.
Yeah.
And we told
It's
him
a
to keep her
lot.
and him there. We don't want the stuff. No
I'm
offense.
telling you, it's everything. Lakita has strep throat, and she was at her daughter's, and I said, stay there until you
Yes,
get
please.
well. Don't come home. Don't come home.
I don't blame you. Alderman Waldron?
I really got nothing, but, it's been cold, check on your pets and the elderly people. I got my electric bill in the mailbox today, and it was $265. I think that's the biggest one I've ever got.
I'll trade with you.
Mine
Mine was $487.
So stay warm and be safe.
Mine was just 105.
And I was on 66, and I was
So you must
cold.
heat with gas.
I've got gas, so that's going to be bad.
Alderman Broker?
I'm going to just go off what Sherry said. Apologize last month not being here for medical reasons, but wanted to thank everyone for the well wishes and cards and text and Facebook messages and whatever. It meant a lot, so just wanted to say thank you.
You're looking good?
Getting
Moving
there.
along well?
I'm moving pretty good.
So we can be mean to you and run, you can't catch us,
I
right?
can't catch you, that's for sure.
We want to thank everyone for being here. Welcome new employees. Welcome to the city. I think you're really going to enjoy it here. And with that being said, I will call this meeting adjourned.